The word out on Zion Williamson is that he'll eat the table. I'm quoting. He'll eat the table.
Yeah, I think it's time for Stephen A. Smith to start naming his sources, because that comment sounded a little too personal. But that doesn't take away from the fact that Zion has looked terrible this season from a physical standpoint. And, I mean, he's saying all of the right things to the media about how he needs to change things. However, behind the scenes, it's an entirely different story. It's been rumored that he simply doesn't listen to those within the organization who try to help improve his diet. Also, remember that the executive vice president of the Pelicans, David Griffin, said this was the first offseason where Zion took his profession serious, which is a problem within itself, but especially after looking like this. It's clearly taking a toll on his game as well. Sure, he'll have the occasional big game here and there. However, consistency may be his worst enemy, specifically on the defensive end. You would think being on a team with great defenders like Herb Jones, Jose Alvarado, and Dyson Daniels would encourage him to try on defense, which just isn't the case.
D'Angelo Russell, his numbers are good, slicing right by Zion Williamson, his first basket. It's Prince for three.
And Zion's got to take and make that shot in this game.
Prince already 3 threes.
Well, I doubt there's a food he's allergic to. I think it's safe to say he's definitely allergic to playing defense. After that game, he said he needed to be better defensively. I mean, duh, at this point, it's hard to take anything he says seriously. One minute he's saying he'll be better, then the next game, you'll see him jogging back on defense without a care in the world. I can already hear the excuses coming from fans, with one common excuse being that the reason he doesn't play defense is because he doesn't want to exert too much energy since he's been asked to drop 30. And to that I say this: Giannis doesn't have that problem. Joel Embiid doesn't have that problem. AD doesn't have that problem. Nor do players like Jimmy Butler and Jason Tatum. Let me make this clear. Nobody is asking him to become a Defensive Player of the Year candidate. I just want him to try. Is that too hard to ask? I know it sounds like I'm coming on him a bit hard, but I honestly hate to see someone with this level of generational talent and ability to throw it all away because he doesn't want a proper diet as a professional athlete. I don't want to jump the gun or anything, but his story is getting more and more similar to that of Shaquille O'Neal. Shaquille O'Neal, a towering titan on the basketball court. He dominated the NBA for nearly 2 decades with his incredible athleticism and skill. However, as legendary as his career was, it's intriguing to consider how his weight contributed to the final chapters of his time on the court. Shaq's size was undeniably a part of his greatness. Standing at a staggering 7'1" and weighing around 325 pounds during his prime, he was an imposing force in the paint, a behemoth who could single-handedly push around other grown men without breaking a sweat. His combination of strength, agility, and finesse allowed him to dominate opponents with ease, earning him numerous accolades, championships, and eventually a place in the Hall of Fame. Yet, as awe-inspiring as his physical stature was, it also posed significant challenges, especially as he aged. The wear and tear of professional basketball can take a toll on any player's body, but for someone of Shaq's size, it stood out like a sore thumb. One of the main factors that contributed to the later years of Shaq's career was his struggle with weight management. Maintaining peak physical condition is crucial for any athlete, but for someone as colossal as Shaq, the balance between size and agility became increasingly precarious as he aged. Despite being a monster in his prime, his weight gradually became a hindrance rather than an advantage. As the years passed, injuries began to take their toll. Shaq's body, which had withstood an incredible amount of physical stress throughout his career, started to show signs of slowing down. Chronic issues with his feet, ankles, and knees became more frequent, sidelining him for extended periods. The accumulation of weight, coupled with the demands of a grueling NBA season, made it increasingly challenging for him to stay healthy and perform at his peak. Furthermore, Shaq's weight impacted his mobility and overall on-court effectiveness. He was known for his explosiveness and agility early in his career, but as his weight increased, his ability to move swiftly and defend against quicker opponents began to slip away. The game was evolving, becoming faster and more perimeter-oriented, and Shaq's size became both an asset and a liability. The similarities between the two is a real thing. The Big Diesel himself has even reached out to Zion multiple times in hopes of steering him away from the path he was all too familiar with. In Shaq's era, his weight became such a big problem that after the Lakers finished outside of the top 3 in the West for the first time in 4 years, while also getting knocked out of the second round after a three-peat, Kobe called him out in an interview when asked about whose team it was, saying, "Since it is his team, no more coming to camp fat and out of shape." Sheesh, yeah, that was tough. That would be the situation that further fielded Shaq's appeal to make the front office choose between him and the Black Mamba. My point is, it's maybe only a matter of time before Zion's weight issues start to aggravate some of his teammates. Another similar situation is what happened to Ben Simmons. Simmons was an all-star, rookie of the year, and he was stuffing the stat sheet. The only problem was, he wouldn't shoot. The crazy thing about this is that he could have easily be a top 10 in the league if he would just shoot. Without a jump shot, he was putting up 16, 7, and 8 while being one of, if not the best perimeter defender in basketball. However, we know how that all turned out. I never thought there would be a day where a professional NBA player would be afraid to shoot the ball. Like, did he just solely rely on his athleticism throughout middle school, high school, and college? Maybe so. The biggest question we all had was, why won't you just shoot? And with Zion, it's like, why won't you just get in shape? Injuries have already surfaced as a concern for Zion. His rookie season was marred by a knee injury that sidelined him for a significant portion of the campaign. While you can make an argument injuries are a part of any athlete's journey, it's becoming obvious that this isn't a common problem or injury. It's becoming a part of who he is. At just 23 years old, he already has that he can't play a full season narrative. And given his style of play, characterized by frequent bursts of explosive movements and the high-flying dunks we've seen since high school, if he doesn't do something about these issues, his career might go downhill faster than Shaq's did. I mean, at least Shaq won championships and established his name among greats before his downfall. Zion hasn't come remotely close to any of that. The thing is, if the Pelicans were playing great and Zion was putting up MVP numbers, then this topic wouldn't even need to be discussed. But as we all know, neither of those things are happening. And with the East and the West being stacked with talent, the Pelicans' chances of at least being a legit playoff team decreases further and further. Out of all of these teams, who do you think they can beat in a 7-game series? The Lakers? Timberwolves, Nuggets, Kings, Suns, Clippers, or Warriors? For all my knowledgeable ball knowers out there, you know the answer to this. None of them. I wouldn't put it past a team like OKC or Dallas to defeat them either. This is just a very weird situation that can only get better or worse from here. And yeah, like I mentioned earlier, Zion will have a big game from time to time because he's still Zion frickin' Williamson. But none of that matters if he doesn't get his weight under control. The postseason is fast-paced, a lot of ups and downs, and a lot of player hustling their tails off each possession trying to outwork one another in an attempt to reach their ultimate goal, an NBA championship. However, how in the hell can Zion, in his current condition, keep up with that? I guess only time will tell.